I have decided to stop using a ring light because the glare in my glasses was bothering me so much when editing my very first video. Also, a little moment of appreciation for how cute this pigment sweater is. I'm literally obsessed. Like, look how cute. It also says pigment on it, but they're cute little squishes. I literally love pigment so much. Anywho, let's get into what this video is about, which is what cutter you should really invest in when you're starting a sticker business. Or actually, we're going to be comparing mainly two that I've personally used, because I have invested in two cutters and one investment has really paid off and the other one not so much. I can't wait to talk about that. Also, I just realized my notes aren't with me, so I'm gonna go get my notes and get into this video. Okay, I have my notes here so we can get started. But for those joining in who just want to hear the very quick, very short answer and can just leave the video after this, just hearing this statement, just want it quick and easy, is don't invest in a Cricut, invest in a Juliet Siser. That's the short description. We're going to go through the pros and cons of the cutters in this video a little bit more in depth, so I do recommend you stay, because maybe, who knows, Cricut may be what you want to invest in. But personally, I am going to be sticking with the Juliet Siser, which I'm just going to call Juliet because I don't even know if I'm pronouncing the name right. Okay, we are going to start with the Cricut machine, and we're going to start with the pros. So I found that it has really cool colors. That's something I really loved about Cricut, and that I was so sad about when I did switch from a Cricut to a Juliet, was the colors, because I had a lavender purple cutter, just like lavender sugar stickers. I was like, oh, that's fitting, it's perfect, I love purple. But so I was really sad, but I love the variety of colors that Cricut has. I think it's really cool that you can choose like a blue one, a yellow one, and it's just so fun to have like different colors. I don't know if the Juliets have different colors. I think it might just be white, but I really like that my Cricut was purple. Another thing that I really liked about Cricut was their not their software, but their accessibility to the software to use it. This was also after some drama actually with the software not being able to be free at one point, but Cricut fixed some stuff out. I can't really remember, but I liked how you didn't need to own a computer to use a Cricut. I didn't have a computer, or like a well-working computer that would work with the software, so I only had my phone to use to do cutting projects, and it was really nice that I was able to just work on stuff on my phone. So even when I was at school, I could get different designs ready and saved, so when I got home from school, I could just start cutting right away. It's really good for cutting vinyl, and it's really good for just cutting straight like paper. Like if you're just doing very simple minuscule designs, like you're not printing something and you need that specific shape, like a circle because there's a pin design, or like a certain outline because of a sticker. I like that when you're cutting for vinyl or just paper, it was really good, and there was no really issues for doing that. It just cut. It was fine. But it's more when we get to the printing and cutting side, that's where all the issues come in, which now we'll go into the cons. And fortunately, there's a lot. And the thing is, before I even bought my cutter, I kind of knew. I'm like, okay, Cricut, like, they're okay, but also it's so popular. They're so widely available, which is really nice. Cricut stuff is really easy and accessible to get, but sometimes just because something's that easily accessible doesn't mean it's always good. So now let's move on to the cons. Starting with the cut precision. It missed so many of my cuts. My cuts, like, sometimes half of the batch would come out perfect, and then the other half, I don't know what would happen. Or sometimes I would have to throw in an entire batch of stickers because it would mess up the whole batch. I don't know how or when or why, but I found that I would lose so much product because it would just always miscut. I would calibrate it. I would make sure I would print in good quality, like it was easy to like see the markings. I made sure that the sensor markings, so for people who haven't used a cutter, when you're printing and cutting stuff for a cutter, it prints out, I'll also put a picture, I'll print out when your printer some black markings, and so when you feed it into your machine, the sensor reads those black markings. and that's what they use to help get like the cuts going. But I made sure those things were clear, nothing was in the way of them, but it would still miss, and I would lose like so many stickers, which was really sad, because especially if you don't have a lot of money for your business and you're just getting by on your materials, that can be really upsetting. Also, the sensor lines were not good. The sensor was not good at picking up on the sensor lines, especially if you're using glossy laminate on your stickers. I would have to use the matte tape trick. So you would have like your glossy laminate, and then on the black markings you would take like Scotch tape, like the matte one, and you would put it over the lines, and that way the cutter was able to sense and read and be able to cut your stickers. When I actually first got my Cricut, at first it was actually able to read the glossy, like through the gloss, like laminate, but the more I used it, the less it was able to pick up on it. I think 2 or 3 months into owning my Cricut, I had to start using like the matte tape trick, because it just would not pick up on any of my like sensor lines there. The sensor wouldn't pick up on it, and sometimes again I would lose a whole batch of stickers because it wouldn't pick up on the sensor lines, and sometimes you actually would have to reprint, relaminate, and laminate and feed the machine, and because sometimes I would just lose a whole batch of stickers, which is also not very good, because I don't want to be losing a lot of my stock or inventory and materials. The software. I had such a hard time learning to use the software for print and cut and using sticker sheets and making sticker sheets and stuff. I think I wasn't even able to do sticker sheets sometimes because the precision cutting just wouldn't work on it either, and I was like, no, what is happening? But I found that the software was really hard to figure out, and if you mess anything like up on the software, you lose a whole batch of stickers pretty much. And it was really complicated just to do basic print and cuts with like adding layers and different things. It's hard to describe if you haven't used like a software or used the Cricut software, but it was actually really hard to actually print and cut normal stickers, like when you set up your thing to print out. So it was really frustrating. The software is not easy. Also, it would update and change so frequently that I would have to relearn or redo certain tips and tricks that would help me actually print and cut stickers. And then once the update came, it was like completely wiped. I would have to like relearn how to use the software and how to get things to print and cut normally, which was really frustrating. Also, it does not cut very fast. It's so slow, the Cricut. It was so slow. It's so slow. Compared to the Juliet, it is so slow when it comes to cutting. Also, I don't know if this was just a me experience. I don't know how it is for other Cricut users. So sometimes when I'm making like large batches of stickers, sometimes I'll just print out a bunch of pages of one design that I want to do, and then laminate it, and then the next day go and cut it. But I found when I did that once with my Cricut, I printed out the pages, I laminated them, and then I waited till the next day to cut them. The sensor would not pick up on it at all. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, what is going on? That could just be a me issue and just like doing something I shouldn't do with my Cricut. But that was not an issue with my Juliet, but we'll get into Juliet later. But yeah, I found that frustrating because then I lost those batches of stickers as well. Yeah, you know what? I lost a lot of batches of stickers. Let's just say lots of trial and error. I thought starting a business was easy up in that point. Like I got some good stuff. Like I figured out my flow, and then that was one of the biggest curves, was figuring out how to use a cutter. I found let me just say, on account of meltdowns, I had 3+ different, I can't even remember. It was definitely more than 3 though. I'm pretty sure it had more than 3 on separate occasions, different meltdowns, just because of my Cricut. Spent a lot of time with them on customer service, on phone calls and stuff too. My poor mom, she would just watch me through all my meltdowns. I would go complaining to her. I'm like, why is my Cricut not working? But on a scale of meltdowns, it was more than 3 occasions. All right. After all those cons, let's go talk about Juliet. She has quite a lot of pros, so I'm excited to talk about her. I have a lot of favoritism when it comes to my Juliet machine. I love her so much. I've had her for about almost 2 years. I've had her for almost 2 years, and I really love her, and she's still working. She's still doing good. Haven't had that much issues. Haven't had to need to like re-oil or do a lot of maintenance on the machine. But let's start with her pros, because there are some pros and cons. Well, there's a lot of pros, but there are some cons to definitely keep in mind when using the Juliet. So my first pro, it cuts, oh my goodness, so precisely. Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, like, carbon, like, you print and cut, it's like carbon copies each time. Each time. I don't know how she does it. Juliet, she knows how to work. I also found that if I like messed up the cutting depth, if I didn't know how much like depth I needed like cutting wise for thickness, I could literally go back on that same page and feed it into the cutter, and she would cut it out exactly the same, perfectly, precisely, no mess ups. Cricut cannot do that. No offense, Cricut, but you can't do that. That is a Juliet or a Siser only amazing skill there. She cuts perfectly every time, unless the cutting mat isn't sticky. Then that's when you're gonna have some issues where everything's sliding around, but you should be changing or cleaning your cutting mat every so often. You can print your cuts and you can print and cut your pages on separate days. I was able to print, laminate all my sticker pages that I wanted to cut out the next day. And Juliet, she would be able to do it the next day. She didn't, I didn't need to throw out a whole batch of stickers. I would be able to like print and laminate on one day, or even like 3 days later, go back to cut the stickers, and the sensor would still be able to pick up on the sensor lines completely fine, and I wouldn't have to reprint a whole batch of stickers, which I love. I have not lost that much product from Juliet, unless again, the cutting mat, if it's not sticky or I mess something up on my end, then I lost product. But most of the time, I have not lost product unless it's through like the laminating process when you get dust in the laminate. Anywho, the software is super easy to use. I found like it was still a little bit of a learning curve when you get started, but it was so much easier than Cricut because I didn't have to use a bunch of tricks or different maneuvers to be able to get stuff to print and cut the way that I needed to for my stickers. It was so easy. I was like, wow, this is a breath of fresh air when I switched softwares. But I believe it's only for the computer. And we'll dig a little deeper into that kind of in the cons. But I also found the sensors, the cutting sensors, pick up on like those lines that that it reads precisely. It picks up on it perfectly, and you don't have to worry about a glossy laminate getting in the way. I haven't had to use the matte trick on my Juliet because it picks up the markings, like the black markings on it perfectly through the glossy laminate. Oh my goodness. It's such a relief not having to use the tape, the matte tape trick. My last pro, it just cuts super fast. It's able to cut through the material super well. As I'm like able to make so many stickers in like a couple seconds. Like let's say, usually I put 8 stickers per page, and I think it's like, depending on the shape, like between 15 to 30 seconds to cut a page. And that is really, really good. I'm telling you, really, really good. All right, and now we'll be moving into Juliet's cons. At least from my experience of using Juliet, I haven't encountered too many cons, which has been amazing. And that's why I talk about her a lot. And I tell a lot of people, like, don't buy Cricut, buy Juliet. It's worth the price, worth the extra $100. But my first con I find is you have to replace the cutting mats quite often. I found I've gone through, I think, 4 or 5 cutting mats in the past not 5 years, oh my goodness, past 2 years of using her, because just the way the machine is, it has a bunch of rollers it feeds through. I might have to put a video or a clip up to show you what I'm talking about, but it makes it kind of over time become uneven and not flat. So it makes it harder for the cutter when it cuts stickers. Sometimes because one area is higher than the other, it messes up and slightly scratches what you're working on. Like I've had to remake some sticker sheets because it's just like skimmed over the top of the surface because one area is slightly higher than the other. But also the cutting mats, they lose their stickiness quite quickly. But also I'm making a lot of sticker orders and stuff for like my school or for like a booth or like a convention and stuff. So because I'm doing so many pages and stuff, it loses its stickiness quite quickly, and I really don't know how to clean those things, so I always end up buying another one, and they can be pretty expensive. I kind of do want to try some like Siser or Juliet based cutting mats, some like knockoff ones, to see if it does the same, because they can be pretty expensive. I think they're $24 for a cutting mat, like the high tack mats, at least that's the one I use. But that's one. I think the biggest con of the whole thing was just having to replace those cutting mats all the time. It's kind of frustrating because then it's like extra costs and stuff, and just how much it just like gets uneven, the surface, over time, which is really frustrating when you're wanting to do cuts and then you have to like really tape your paper down to the mat because it's not sticky anymore. It's just, things are not working. My other con that I found is that there is the software you have to use a computer for. I don't believe there's an app. If there is, I will put it up right here, right now. Okay, so I did find an app for Siser, but it doesn't have anything to do with the software and actually cutting projects. It's more just tutorials, what the different types of machines are, color matching, and different like tips to help you with your print and cuts, but nothing to do with actually printing and cutting. You have to use a computer for this software. And so luckily for school, I needed a computer, so that worked out perfectly, that I was able to just put it on this computer and be able to use the software. But if unlike the Cricut, which I really liked about the Cricut, I was able to do stuff through my phone, it would have been nice to also be able to do that, but I do understand every software is going to be different. But I really wish there was also an app, because sometimes I do not want to bust out my computer to do some print and cuts, but you know, it's probably for the better that I use it because I can get more in detail, more precise. But that's kind of the main cons for my Juliet machine. Also, on a scale of meltdowns or amount of meltdowns I've had like one meltdown that I can think of, at least, that my mother can think of at least, that had one meltdown with this cutter. As you can tell, I have a favorite, and it's Juliet, from at least my experience. I find with Cricut, if you're making a lot of huge sticker orders, it can't handle it. The machine cannot handle cutting through that much sticker paper. It's not really good with thicker materials. I find it's so good if you're doing stuff with vinyl. Doing stuff with vinyl and just regular plain colorful paper, it is completely fine. When it comes to doing stickers and pins, I do not recommend it. I've made pins also with both my Juliet and my Cricut, and I found it was really hard for it to get to print all the pin inserts like correctly as well too. But I really like my Juliet as well. Like, she has some cons, but she has a lot of pros, and I feel like if you're going to invest in a cutter, I'm telling you right now, Juliet Siser all the way. It will save you a lot of money, and well, I don't know about the cutting mat part, but it will save you a lot of money, especially because you could be losing so much stock and materials for making stickers when using a Cricut. And with Juliet, at least you won't be wasting a lot of your resources because she cuts so precisely. But if you have any thoughts or comments on how, like, pros and cons you've had with this, like, either machine, please let me know below. Or if you've had like a different model of the Cricut and you've had like a much better experience, like, please leave feedback. I would love to have conversations in the comments about this, your thoughts. If you just have questions in general that you want like another video on, please let me know. I'd love to talk about it. But yeah, thank you for listening to my rant, my TED Talk. Well, not really TED Talk. And I really hope this helps people who are looking to invest in a good cutter to really just like look at these pros and cons and consider buying a Juliet over a Cricut if you were thinking about buying a Cricut. I really like you to look at and think about considering a Juliet instead. But thank you for watching this video. Hope you'll have a lovely day. Bye.